In this devotional, I'm going to share with you 3 thoughts from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 9 through 15, where I'll ask the question, how can I find contentment? Ecclesiastes 3, verses 9 through 15 says, "What gain has the worker from his toil? I have seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. I perceive that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also, that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. I perceived that whatever God does endures forever, and nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done it, so that people fear before him. That which is already has been, and that which is to be already has been, and God sees what has been driven away." I think most of us are seeking contentment. We're seeking some way to satisfy whatever need we're experiencing in any given moment. We want to be content. We want to find peace. And Solomon was no different. In fact, Ecclesiastes might be his quest to discover how to be content. And we're talking about somebody who was profoundly rich, somebody who had everything that his heart could possibly desire, somebody who was gifted by God with supernatural wisdom. And yet he was still seeking for contentment. And as he goes through this experiment where he's trying to figure out what's the best thing to do with your time in this life, what's the best thing for any of us to do with their lifetimes, he comes up with just a few things to help us discover how we can find contentment. So here are 3 thoughts from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 9 through 15. Thought number 1, do good. Solomon says that you should do good. And this is what you should do with your life. Your life should be defined by that good which you are doing. Because after all, at the end of your days, you probably won't be looking back and think to yourself, I'm really glad I spent X number of hours at the office. I'm really glad that I put so many widgets together. I'm really glad that I accomplished this, that, or the other thing. What you will be looking back towards is the good that you have done in this life, the positive impact that you have made. So if you would find contentment and joy, you would focus on the good that you could do in any given circumstance. And in so doing, you can see that you are being used by God to bring about his glory and the ultimate good of his people. Thought number 2, enjoy good things. You might think that Solomon would come up with a solution to the question of contentment like work all the time, work your fingers to the bone. But he doesn't come up with that solution. In fact, he spends a whole lot of time trying to figure out how to become content, and he discovers that doing good is a part of it, but you also need to enjoy the good things that exist in this life because God has made them, and he has made them to be enjoyed. So take joy in the good things that you have to eat. Take joy in the good things that you have to drink. Take joy in those good experiences that you have with the people that you love and that are around you. Enjoy the good things that God has provided for you in this life. We know that each day has sufficient trouble to worry about itself. I mean, Jesus tells us that. And we all realize this from personal experience too. We know that there's plenty of difficulty, there's plenty of trouble, plenty of suffering, plenty of strife in this world. So if you have the opportunity to enjoy something good, if you have the chance to take pleasure in something that is provided for you by God for you to enjoy, why not enjoy it? You should do that. And as you do that, in combination with doing good things, you find that you start to develop more and more contentment. Thought number 3, trust God. Ultimately, your contentment in this life will result from acknowledging the goodness of God and that he is working out his purposes in the world. You probably won't find contentment outside of that fact. And this actually makes a whole lot of sense coming from Solomon. Solomon, who had a supernatural experience. Solomon, who had encountered God in a way that most of us simply have not, has profound confidence that he exists that he's working out his purposes and that he is able to do precisely what he means to do in this world. So if we're going to find contentment or seek it out in the way that Solomon had done, we probably need to begin with the presupposition that God is in fact doing all that he has told us he is doing in the text of Scripture. And when we start to realize that our existence is based upon the goodness of the one who created us, that our existence is built upon this idea that we have a purpose inherent in life to bring glory to our Creator. As we start to realize that, and we start to trust that the God who created us is good and is working out the best possible experiences for us as his people, then we can trust him and we can persevere through any difficult scenario, all while doing good and taking joy in the good things in this life. These three thoughts come to you from the assigned reading of Ecclesiastes chapters 3 and 4. If you'd like to read through the Bible with me, you can do so by subscribing to this channel, by clicking on the link in the description, or by joining the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading the text of Scripture together.